Hey everyone, welcome. I'm Tara Davis with the Relationship Playbook for Marriage. Today we are going to talk about a topic that is near and dear to all of us, assuming. Assuming that you know what I'm talking about. Assuming I know what you're talking about. Assuming is so prevalent in our life, and I really actually, this topic was already picked for today. I had already decided I was going to talk about this today. And of course, as the universe would have it, I had a great example over the weekend, personally, on assuming I thought I knew what my husband was talking about, or was going to say, or how something was going to unfold, when actually I didn't. So assuming when we think someone else knows what we're going to talk about, or knows what we're going to say, or knows what we're thinking, assuming others know what we are going to say, what we are going to do, what we are going to think. And so either one of these, I think we all know the cliche, assume makes an ass out of you and me. We just don't need to assume anything. Oftentimes we start to assume things because we are afraid to ask questions. Maybe we don't quite fully understand something. We don't have the courage to speak up or ask. So then we assume that we know how something is supposed to be done, or how it's going to unfold, or how it's supposed to happen, when in actuality, that's what gets us in trouble, because we think we know what's going to happen or what is supposed to be done, instead of asking a question and getting more clarity, or asking another question and getting even more clarity. We've made an assumption that, by and large, takes us down this path of drama, because once we've made an assumption of something, we normally start then creating a story, right? You know that storyline that you just attach to when you start creating a story about something. Like, you can just make full-on reality out of something that you've assumed. So this weekend, I created a full-on reality of what I assumed that I was thinking my husband knew. Like, I knew what my husband was thinking. And so he had made a comment, and I, in my mind, went, oh my God, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to go down that path. All these things that I was thinking. And so instead of getting clarity, of course I can chuckle now, in the moment, not so much. But instead of getting clarity and asking for more detail, asking for more on the topic, I assumed I knew the direction that he was taking with this topic, with this subject that he brought up. And I shut it down because I assumed I knew what he was going to say and which direction he was going to go and how he was going to move forward. And I just went, blah, and stopped it again because I assumed. What happened? How did that unfold? Drama. I could have really prevented it had I got more clarity, asked more questions instead of assuming. So then, as it transpired, I just sat there because I thought, wait a minute. Why aren't you reacting how I want you to react? Because I know what you're going to tell me. I know what this is going to look like on the other side. I already know. When in fact, I did not. When we talked about it later and got to the heart of the matter, he said, actually, no, I was going to say this because we have all this, and this to back this up. Let's talk this through and see how this works, which is what I teach in communication, right? And so we can get so caught up in our own assumptions, in our own stories. Then we start creating stories of our assumptions because we think we know it all. We think we're right. And then we get into trouble. And then we're not speaking. And then we're arguing, and then we're angry, and then we create all these other stories when we think that we know what someone else is thinking. A lot of times we think that when we have a partner, when we have a spouse, they should know what we are thinking. Wrong. Never assume that anyone knows what you're thinking. It is not your partner's job to know what you're thinking. It is not your job to know what your partner's thinking, or your children. It's not your children's job to know what you're thinking. It's not your boss's job. That doesn't mean they love you more or less. It means they're taking care of themselves and doing their job. Our job is to ask questions. Be curious. If we don't know something that we think we do, or even when we think, oh my God, I know where you're going with this, stop, zip the lip for a second, and ask a question. If you feel a trigger, if you feel that anxiety and that anger come up, that you are going to react to a situation, I invite you first to ask questions. Is this what you're meaning? Is this what you mean? And then ask another question. So what I hear you say is this. Is that right? And then when you say that, is this going to happen next? In the past, when you've said this is what happens. Is that going to go down again? Is that going to happen again? When you say this is what I know for you to do. Is that what that looks like this time? Is that what's going to happen? So get clarity. Get clarity to your assumptions. Let's stop assuming that we know. And we can assume things all day long. We can assume that if we use a particular product, it's going to make us look like this. If we assume that if we follow a specific way of life, it's going to make us look like this. Let's get back to us asking questions. Let's stop assuming that everyone knows what we're thinking, and let's stop assuming that we know what everyone else is thinking, and let's get back to asking questions. And so I want to end this with, I pulled out one of my books that is just a favorite that I really use probably once or twice a month when I have something coming up. And it's this one, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And on his third agreement, I pulled it out. Don't make assumptions. When we don't understand and we assume, we're creating more drama. We only want to see and hear what we want. Then we don't ask questions. Then we create drama. How can you create less drama? How can you ask more questions? How can you get more clarity when you feel yourself starting to react, starting to get angry, starting to get anxious? How can you ask more questions? Hey, Derek. This one might be for you, babe. I am talking about assuming. And so time is up. I will see you here next week. No idea what we're talking about, but I'll see you right here next week. Cheers.